Muslim experience. All right. As we recognize this month of Ramadan, we thought it was important to bring forth a few members of our USYS family to share on their unique Muslim experience and that's influenced their love for the game. And I think I should better turn that recording on, right, ma'am? Did I turn it on already? Hold on for a second, guys.
Yes, it's already recording.
It's fantastic. There we go. Great. So today we have with us our host, Hanah Shehaiber, and Esse, Baharmast, Mostafa Edders, Lamine, Balde, and Ismail, Elfath. All right. I'm just going to take, maybe one more slide and talk a bit about the vision for U.S. soccer. All right. And what's brought us here together. And, in U.S. soccer, we endeavor to be an organization that will embrace diversity, all right, and inclusion, and strive to be the sport that is the choice for our players, our officials, coaches, administrators from all backgrounds. All right. We also want to be that organization that will encourage advancement of diverse individuals and ideas throughout the organization, and then to provide a culture where all individuals will feel safe, will feel that they're being treated fairly. And so late last year, USYS established the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. I happen to be the chair of it. We've got 25 very passionate individuals willing to commit their time and effort to begin to increase the awareness of the diversity of our community, all right, to begin to facilitate discussions like we're having today and will have in the future, and then to come up with some concrete actions that we can do to make things a much better environment for all involved. All right, and so that's what's the spirit behind today's session. And with that, I will turn it over to Hanah to take it from here.
Thank you so much, Hugh. Welcome, everybody, panelists in the audience. I think that U.S. Youth Soccer for this opportunity to be able to discuss challenging topics within our soccer communities, and obviously hosting the first ever DEI webinar. The focus of this webinar for us is to focus, on the Muslim faith and the experiences we've had in relevance to soccer. Our hopes are to build the awareness and unite all people from all backgrounds, around this beautiful game that we all love. I mean, we're all out there on fields, and how many of us out there, meet people from all over the world, and that's just exactly what soccer is. So hopefully, through this, we could build awareness and some sensitivity to this subject. And I would encourage, obviously, any of the participants, audience, to submit any questions that you may have throughout this session via the chat, and we will do our best to answer them as we go through this session. I would like to start by allowing the panelists to introduce themselves, give us a little bit of a brief bio of, where you are, family, how you got involved into soccer, and your current roles. So I will pass it over to the panelists.
Esse,
Who wants to go first? Esse?
Okay, I'm probably the oldest in this group, so I'll go. Esse Baharmast. I live in Golden, Colorado. I'm married with one daughter. I probably known best for my 98 World Cup in France and 96 Olympics in Atlanta were the tournaments that I participated in.
He missed me.
The normal 11.
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead. Candace put herself on mute. That's good stuff.
That's okay. And great to see Candy also on this call from Colorado Springs. I'm the director of referees for Colorado Soccer. So I was director of referees for U.S. Soccer from 1998 until 2008. Then I went to FIFA as a FIFA instructor. So I've been involved with every tournament that FIFA has had from.
Hello.
We have
Did we lose you, Esse?
Begin.
No, somebody muted me, I think.
Oh, thanks for getting back so quick.
Yep. So I have been involved with every FIFA tournament since 2003, including the Women's World Cup in France last year. My pleasure now is to be working with the younger referees in Colorado. So on any given Saturday or Sunday, you'll see me on the field, helping out, making sure that the younger referees achieve their dreams and go as high and as far as they want to go. And it's a pleasure to be here with this such wonderful panelists.
Thank you, Esse. Okay, who's the courageous person going next?
I'll go next. Mostafa Edders, originally from Morocco, born and raised there in the city called Kenitra. I'm a father of 3 boys, Yasin, Adam, and Noah, all of them born here in Chicago. I started my playing career in early 80s. I played in Morocco and a couple of years in France. After I retired, I moved to the US and I started coaching. Spent 11 years with a club in Hinsdale, Illinois, called Hawk Soccer Club. And then I moved back to the Morocco and to the Middle East. I coached professionally in Qatar, UAE, and Morocco. Came back 5 years ago and I coached the academy, girls academy in Chicago. And now I'm the director of coaching with Green White Soccer in Illinois.
Thank you, Mostafa. Ismail, Lamine.
Yeah, I'll go. Hi, everyone. Thanks, first of all, for US Soccer and US Youth Soccer Organization for organizing this session. It's exciting to be part of it. For those that involved, took a bit of work to get everyone together. So thank you for that. Thank you for all that have joined as guests. We appreciate you being here. My name is Ismail Elfath. I'm based here in Austin, Texas, native of Casablanca, Morocco. Moved here in 2001. Currently, I am a referee with the Professional Referee Organization, serving Major League Soccer, and also on the FIFA International Referee Panel for the past 7 years or so. I do love being out in the youth fields here. I kind of use it as my justification of why do we continue to do this and take some of the hard things that we do, traveling 200 days out of the year or being yelled at by overpaid players or something like that. When I go out to the youth fields, I was like, this is what we do. It's fun being out here. And I look forward to chatting with you more.
Awesome.
Hello, I guess I'm last. My name is Lamine Balde. Obviously, I'm from Guinea, West Africa. I moved here when I was around 18. I was adopted. All my parents are back home. So I moved here and I went to college and I played football there and obviously got my degree. And then after that, I played with multiple clubs, 4-pit regiment. I played at Indy 11. Indianapolis, and then I played with the Huskers. And right now I'm actually based in Washington, PA. I'm an assistant coach there at Washington and Jefferson College. So I've been in the soccer world quite a while, and I coach for multiple clubs here around Pittsburgh. Coach for the ODP as well for the Olympic development. So I've been involved with soccer here and there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lamine. We are happy to have all of you join us and be a part of this. I would like to start off by letting everybody know, whether aware or not, that this is the holy month of Ramadan for us, and for most Muslims around the globe that are practicing. And just a little brief bio of Ramadan, Islam, and everything before we get started, to just educate everybody on, basically there are 5 pillars of Islam. Islam is one of the fastest growing religions in the world, and Ramadan is the 4th pillar of these 5 in Islam. It's a very deep spiritual discipline. It requires 30 days of fasting in the month of Ramadan from dawn until sunset. It requires a lot of meditation, deep thought, a lot of extra praying, increased charity during this month, seeking basically a deep relationship with your creator, with Allah, with God, abstaining from any worldly desires or sexual desires, and, not committing even the smallest of sins, and seeking a lot of forgiveness and intense studying of the Quran. So as serious as Ramadan might sound, it's very, it's a great time for many Muslims all around the globe. We welcome it with joy. It's a celebration. It's a lot of time with close ones. And, it's a very, very important month because it also is the month that the Quran, which is the holy book and the, Muslims' book of faith, was revealed to our Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May peace be upon him. And it was revealed during the last 10 nights of Ramadan, and more importantly, a night called the night of power or night of decree, which is Laylatul Qadr. And that's what we're practicing right now and seeking. We're in the last 6 days of Ramadan. And so I just figured just to give a little bit of a background of that would be very helpful, and let you guys know that Islam is a religion of peace. It teaches us, to be tolerable of one another, to accept one another, and to honestly accept all major religions across the world, and to just basically respect all creations of God. At the completion of this month, we go through what is basically like Christmas to everybody. It's a celebration that breaks the fast. It's called Eid al-Fitr, and it's a 3-day celebration. We get together with family, there's gift giving, we have dinners together. So, it's a nice big celebration. More recently than ever before, though, when in terms of soccer, we've seen the soccer world become more observant, and they've acknowledged and are more courteous to players, coaches, referees all around the globe. We see on TV how referees are having game stoppages to allow for players to break their fast. We have seen, a lot of stadiums start to build within the stadiums rooms for these players to pray in, or even the guests. Any of the guests that walk in or the fans are allowed to utilize these rooms to go and pray during the game. So, it's very interesting, and we'll touch upon that later as we discuss things throughout the session. But we will start right now with the questioning, and I would, please, panelists, please feel free to join in and jump in whenever you want. This is a conversation. This is not a question answer. I'm going to pick on you. I would like this to be a very nice, free flowing conversation. And like I said, we will do our best to take questions from any of the guests. So let's get started. Since I just covered Ramadan, I would like to ask any of the panelists, during Ramadan, how do you manage? How do you prepare yourselves for your roles as a player, Lamine, or a coach, as a referee, Ismail, as a coach, Mostafa? So, and obviously coaching youth, and maybe the youth are fasting, and how do you deal with that? What are your routines? Just things that you have encountered through soccer. So I'll leave it up to you guys.
For me, as a player, when I was a kid, it was really difficult to go through Ramadan, especially for the games. Sometimes we play at 1 p.m. and sometimes 3 p.m. So it was really hard, those hours between the end of the game and breaking the fast. Especially as far as water, we need to hydrate after the game and before the game. We couldn't do that. But you adapt. As you get older, you learn how to deal with it, and it teaches you to be patient and to be stronger mentally, and you can find those obstacles that come ahead of you. As a coach right now, the club where I am at, I don't have any players that fast. if you do as kids, I don't think they have the age to fast yet. So I don't experience any of that. When I was in the Middle East coaching there, all the games were at night, so the Ramadan wasn't an issue. But for the kids that, as Moroccans, it was very difficult to fast and play at the same time, especially after May, when it's hot and humid, it was difficult. But as a coach, I don't see any problems. I fast all day. I go there, and it's you break the fast. Usually during the training session, I take a 2-minute break, drink some water, and then when I get back home around 9:30, I eat.
And you bring up a very good point. To let everybody know, Ramadan changes yearly because the Islamic lunar calendar is different than the actual calendar of 365 days. It's 11 days shorter. So we always go, based on the moon sighting. Obviously, we go back or sometimes forward. But I'd like everybody to know that around the world, the time of dawn, obviously, to sunset, it varies. And sometimes when Ramadan falls in the summertime, there's countries that are fasting for 22 hours a day. So, it's very hard. And I'm sure with soccer, it's more difficult for them to adapt. But just kind of throwing that out there, those are things that we keep in mind as well. And, I'll let some of the other panelists let us know how, they've adapted as well.
Yeah, I'll pick up from that as well in terms of the plane. Obviously, when I was in college, my preseason was around like August. It was really hot. So we'll go to training. It's like 2 or 3 a day, and in the morning and the evening, and then in the afternoon, and then in the evening. So I will come out in the morning. We'll do some fitness, and it's in the beginning it was really, really tough for me because when we train in the morning, the rest of the day you're like you're completely dead. You're not gonna have the same energy. But as I went on, I adapted. After college, I started playing at the next level. Is even harder because everybody's at high level, and you have to whether it's defending or attacking, you have to do the same effort, whether you don't have the ball or you have the ball. So I kind of started adapting. What I did was that in training, I try to train as hard as I can because the body can adapt, as you mentioned it, as one of Esse mentioned it as well. Your body can adapt. And, my teammates used to ask me, how can you play 90 minutes while you fast? And I told them I try to adapt myself. It's really hard, but when you do that in training, put yourself in the same situation, then when it gets to the game, it's actually easier when you get to the game because you probably practice even harder in training. But apart from that, one of the difficult part was that, especially in college, eating, right? In the cafeteria, I didn't eat certain type of food. I ate halal food. So it was difficult for me when everybody else used to eat whatever they wanted. For me, myself, I couldn't eat any meat. So I was kind of vegetarian for like 4 or 5 years. Well, I was okay with it because I used to eat my tuna. But I try to communicate with the people at the cafeteria. Sometimes they help me out. Maybe I will go buy something out of the city. And I used to cook a lot because I didn't have my parents at home, so I had to cook for myself. So all of that, I adapted. Alhamdulillah, now it's not bad.
That's very good. But Lamine, aren't most college students vegetarians?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
No, but that is a very, very good point that you discussed. I would like to ask you though, what about, we know the physical side obviously is very, very strenuous and hard, especially with 3 training sessions, right?
Yeah.
What about your focus, like the mental side? Did that wear off as well throughout the day? you know, regardless of the level of intensity that was required?
Yeah, when I got to the next to the higher level, I couldn't play. I played 90 minutes, but I couldn't play more than 45 minutes. So I played midfielder, but then when I play as a forward, I don't run as much. But then in terms of mentally is pretty exhausting. But uh, uh, as you go on, it becomes, it builds you as an individual. As is like it's mentioned in the Quran, Allah prescribed it for us, like He prescribed it for the people before us. So if we look at it as something that is good for health, and our health, even though some people might look at it, okay, this is insane. You can't drink any water, you can't eat anything, but it actually makes you a strong individual. Yeah, controlling your desire, controlling yourself mentally. So that can help you out in the game as well, where you're tired when you're not in Ramadan, you're tired, but then you can push yourself to get to that next level that you want to get to.
Very well. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And yes, I agree with you. It does definitely teach you a lot of restraints, you know. As the referee myself, I've Ramadan's helping me hold back what I really want to say on the field. But no, on the serious side, it does teach. Ismail, Esse, you're kind of quiet back there. Has being a Muslim ever affected any of you guys in your soccer careers, whether it be a positive thing, whether it be a negative manner? You know, is it something you guys even have to think about? You know, when you show up to soccer, you're like, oh, you know, I wonder if they know I'm Muslim. Is it something that you're comfortable to share? You know, if you were asked or around people, you know, are you comfortable to let people know, hey, I need to break my fast? Or, you know, just in general, like try to think back and see if that has affected you in any way. I know for me, you know, I obviously don't wear the hijab, which is a covering. And I would honestly say I've never had a positive or negative impact in soccer when it came to dealing with my religion. However, the only thing that I have a personal struggle with wearing the hijab and being at soccer, and like obviously what people think, and you know how you're gonna be treated in response to, you know, how they knew me now to then when I wear it. So I know that's a struggle for me. So the only reason I bring that up is to let you kind of think about, okay, was there really anything that I maybe did think about or had to go through in terms of soccer and being of a Muslim faith?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it. First, let me try something a little bit funny here. Hugh, do our participants have, or maybe someone can test, down in the bottom, do you have a reactions where you can send a reaction, like a thumbs up or a hand up or raise a hand? You can. Great. Question for you. Just put a hands up or a thumbs up if you've ever had a chance to openly have a conversation with one of your acquaintances at any level about their Muslim or Islamic religion. One, two, three. Very few. Need a little bit more, but still the minority. And that's my point is, I love this session because what I've come to learn is, and this is probably maybe just an American thing, but we very rarely like to talk about differences, especially around religious differences. So in my experience, I've found it very rare when someone has a chance to have a conversation with their Muslim friends or colleagues or coworkers, etc. So and the reason I bring this up is that we love to talk about it. Actually, we love to share it. We love to share our culture. We love to share who we are and what makes us great human beings. Yeah, because most everyone that knows about Islam just knows about it from the media, which is not us. You've never seen me on CNN going through anything. You've never seen Esse. You've never seen the other 1.6 billion. You've seen the probably 20, 30, 400, whatever, right? So we love to have the conversation, first of all. So the reason I wanted to do that is please ask any questions you want. They're not going to be any ones that offend us. Yeah, we love the opportunity. Second thing is, I love what Lamine said, is that Ramadan teaches him how to reach heights that he normally didn't think his body could reach. For me, that's the same experience. And for me, the fasting part to most of us is really just a secondary part. We don't really think about it that much, right? Because the body adapts. We really enjoy Ramadan for its festive nature and how it connects us to our family, our greater family, our community. There's so many shared meals. I think I used it in a recent interview. If you think of Thanksgiving and how much you get together and enjoy it, we do that for 30 days straight. That's how it feels to us. That's why we're so excited about it. But then the difficulty side of it on the nutrition, the hydration, the mental focus that you need to continue with your job or training, etc. That difficulty really just pushes us forward in terms of, I can do this. I can push through this barrier. And that discipline carries itself into other situations. So for us, for me, it's a gain to have to go through a difficulty and also feel what some people feel without a choice. There are people that don't eat, but it's not because they're fasting. There's just no food. There's no water. There's no clean water. And for me to live through that and experience it by choice, just like says spiritually and from a meditation standpoint, really takes us to places that we would normally not get to unless if it's Ramadan and we're pausing to do it. And that's my experience. So I think I answered your question indirectly there. Is for me is something that I cherish as a gift to be relatively different from the majority, because it helps me appreciate those in that group that are also different, because we're all different, either based on our origin or our height or our country or our language or our ethnicity or our whatever it may be. Each one of us has an area of insecurity. For me, to have an area that might be perceived of insecurity, to me is an area of strength, because I can appreciate and relate to those that might be feeling it, and I can open up to them. It's always been great to have that platform. So that's my perspective of it.
Thank you so much, Ismail. But has it personally affected you directly?
No.
Like you being of faith and obviously going up through the ranks, right? And being a pro.
Never. Honestly, never. I think the soccer world is a bit unique because it's diverse by nature, right? The soccer circles are diverse by nature, so it never affected me. To the contrary, it's always opened up for me opportunities to speak in platforms that I normally would not have, like this one. I would not be here if I wasn't Muslim. Well, I had this experience many other times, being invited to other conferences, etc., just because I happen to be Muslim and something else. So for me, it's never been a negative thing at all.
Very good to hear.
Yeah, and I'm glad Ismail talked about the conversation. Have you had a conversation? Because that's where it starts. When we have a conversation, we find out that we have more in common with other people than how we are different. The beauty of this game is that it brings people of all backgrounds, of religions, all socio-economic statuses, to sit down and talk face to face and eye to eye. The beauty of the sport is that brings a professor from a university with someone who doesn't have a 6th grade education to be able to sit down and talk about this game all on the same level. And the more I have traveled the world, and the beauty of this game is that it has taken me to over 80 countries, I see those commonalities. When we're talking about fasting, many of you do intermittent fasting. This is part, it's a good thing that sometimes we do as part of a diet, either to lose weight or to stay sharp. And the more we do this, the easier it becomes. Also, the part that I like to emphasize is the goodness that you bring in, because whatever you don't eat, whatever you are saving, it's supposed to go to charity. It's supposed to go to someone who's a little bit less fortunate than we are. And that is the part that is, really at the core of this thing. This is not about, torture, not eating. This is about understanding other people who may be less fortunate, other people who may not have a meal to have during their normal day, or maybe a couple of days. And so you walk in their shoes and you empathize with them. And whatever it is that you're not eating, whatever it is that you're for breakfast or lunch, it is something that you can give as sadaqah, as a gift to people who are less fortunate than you.
Thank you so much, Esse. Does anyone else want to touch on this subject or has had any experiences of their own?
Yeah, I want to add more to what Esse said about charity. Charity is probably the biggest impact that Ramadan has on non-Muslims around the Muslim community. And I know this for a fact in every Muslim community around the mosque or the Muslim school, is they receive so much charity that they're often establishing programs that touch the whole neighborhood. Like in ours, we have an open clinic, medical clinic, fully functioning for anybody. No insurance, nothing, Muslim, non-Muslim. You just walk in or set an appointment and you can get a physical, you can get a referral, etc. That's all sponsored through charity. And 90% of that charity comes during Ramadan. Muslims' hearts just open up with charitable giving during Ramadan. And same goes for vaccination. For those interested in vaccination, we've been having free, just walk-up vaccination. We have a lot of the community doesn't do online and check-in. We made it so that people can walk up, do the basic registrations, and go through a medical professional and get their vaccination at the mosque during Ramadan. So for me, it's been one of the ways that people, non-Muslim, have experienced Ramadan is by the charitable events they notice around that month, and some of them continue throughout the year, like the medical institution that we have. I think I'm glad Esse brought that up.
Sounds good. Has your Muslim faith changed in a way your values, maybe in soccer, whether it be referee, coach, player? Has it helped you in some aspects of the game to get to where you are, maybe? Or, in dealings in the game, when you deal with players, coaches, referees, fans, etc.? Does being of that faith and your teachings and the guidance that you were taught, does that help you? Is it even something you ever had to think about? Or it's just, your upbringing?
I mean, I would say, like Ismail just mentioned earlier about, what Ramadan, what kind of impact it has on you, right? So for me personally, in terms of what Ramadan teaches you, one of the things is that you're not only fasting for the food, right? You're not only fasting also to know what it feels like to not have food, right? I think there's I've heard this saying somewhere where they said that Ramadan is also is for the rich people to taste hunger, so then they don't forget the hungry, right? And then also in terms of when I fast, when I'm playing in the game, or not even in the game, I have to watch out for the way I speak to people, the way I behave, the way I can't lie. So basically all the bad habits I would do outside of Ramadan is what I'm trying to break during Ramadan. So then after Ramadan, I can keep on with those good acts. For example, talking in somebody's back, gossip or backbiting. That is something that is completely forbidden in Islam. So those are the things that Ramadan helps me out. So when I get into the field, I can get let's say I'm dealing with another player, he gives me a bad tackle, and then if I'm fasting, I have to refrain. I cannot fight with somebody. So those are the things that Ramadan teaches me, and in order to be humble, to be nice to people, because that's how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because about and Islam is all about your character. How do you act towards people? How do you act towards your neighbors? How do you act towards the people that you work with? Because we believe that obviously God will forgive you everything that you've done to him, but what you've done to people, that is what's going to determine, they are the one who have to forgive you for that. So Ramadan teaches me to get away from all of those things, and hopefully after Ramadan I will keep the same character.
Very, very well put. Very well put, Lamine. And you know, you guys, your answers are obviously awesome. That my cat is meowing so much in agreement. But it is very true, because you know, I've experienced that myself, where I've had to hold my tongue. Like I said, you know, I was reffing a game, you know, the players were just egging me on, and they weren't letting go, you know, and at the end I was about to just tell one of the players, you know, knock it out, or, you know, scream it at her. And I literally, it took me a second to just think, calm myself down and react differently. And, you know, obviously it's not just Ramadan that we have to do this. This is how we have to act, you know, all of our lives. But it does help that Ramadan makes us become more righteous, you know, more respectable people. So I thank you for that, Lamine. Do you guys have any certain traditions you do with your families? I saw somebody asked, is there a certain food or drink that we eat? And I just want to let you know that when breaking the fast, our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may peace be upon him. And the reason we say that, we have to always say, whenever we mention our Prophet's name, we have to say, may peace be upon him. So that's why you hear all of us say, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anyhow, when he used to break his fast, you know, obviously they were poor back in the day and they're in deserts. So he used to break his fast with dates. And if he didn't have any dates, he would break his fast with water. So tradition for us is that we break, you know, our fast with dates and water. What about the rest of you guys? Is there any certain traditions that you and your families practice? You know, how do you celebrate the Eid afterwards? You know, I'll leave that up to you guys as well to discuss. Did I lose everybody?
Iftar, the best breakfast. Let's just face it. I mean, that's just a no question, right, Mostafa? I mean, that decision is done. I mean, it's cultural. So iftar is the breakfast meal at sunset, and it's, like I said, it's Thanksgiving times 10. It's an absolute feast. And it becomes cultural based on the countries. I mean, as you know, Islam is in Russia and in China and Brazil and everywhere. So that table reflects that region, really. And it's usually delicacies. You're talking about everyday delicacies, all right? Stuff that you put on a Christmas day, etc. So on Morocco, and Mostafa will share probably also on his side in his region, you know, there are some must-haves. We love our pastries. We love our soups. Surprisingly enough, we don't eat a lot of meats in Morocco at the iftar meal per se. It's mainly around either fish or pastries, soups, and a lot of sweets and juices, etc. So and it's different. We should have prepared some pictures of those.
All right.
I'm sorry. I still wonder to this day how we did it back then. The table was unbelievable. How much food we ate, and obviously you're young, you eat more. I remember we had 3 meals. We have, you know, iftar, obviously biggest meal, and then a couple hours later we had dinner, and then you go sleep and you wake up and you have another meal. So I honestly still wonder how we did that, because now after I came back from work, I just eat a little bit and that I'm done with it. And that walks you through the day. But I agree with Ismail. It was a feast. It was a lot of food.
Somebody has also asked, you know, do we eat throughout the night? And you know, some people do. Some people are up throughout the night, you know, performing extra prayers and du'as and, you know, whatnot, and reading the Quran. So obviously, you know, those people are maybe snacking throughout the night, but some people also wake up for what you call suhoor, which, you know, they wake up before dawn to obviously, you know, get a little snack in or a little bite in to, you know, fast the rest of the day. I just wanted to share that. But so Mostafa and Ismail, you guys don't do the tangines?
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
Well, once in a while, you adapt, and obviously the culture doesn't change for me, but for my kids, they rather go to McDonald's than have tagine.
It is true.
Hanah, if I could, I apologize. There is a question that came in through the chat, and I thought it was kind of interesting. At what age do people usually start fasting?
So it's usually when they're considered an adult. So right after they've gone through puberty, really, adolescence is really the age. So you think somewhere around 15, 14, somewhere around there. My son is 15, and this year is the first time he fasted, for example. So that's generally is the guidance.
Yeah, good, thank you. Back to you, Hanah.
All right, sounds good. How has, obviously going through the experiences of being involved in soccer, how has your life changed? If you think about it 10 years ago, right? And I guess Islamophobia, always existed, right? But maybe 10 years ago, acknowledgement maybe of the faith or like the religion or knowing or being educated on it was maybe a little bit different 10 to 15 years ago. So how has your life changed, do you think, as a Muslim 10 to 15 years ago than to now? Is it easier to be, just yourself? Is it something you had to think about? Obviously we see things on the media with Islamophobia, I would like to ask the audience actually and the guests, what is the first thing you think about when I say Islam? And then we'll get to that after I allow the panelists to answer their questions, but to give you guys time to answer that. But for our panelists, is it something you had to think about? Now watching on the news, like you see all these African Americans and what's going on. For me, if I was African American, I would be worried every time I drove or if I got stopped by the cop. So, is it something that is there anything in Islam that you have to think about? Or has your life changed in the last 10 to 15 years?
It's true that after September 11, it was difficult to say Muslim because what you were hearing in the media, especially on TV and some channels, they were attacking Islam and they had the word Muslim connected to terrorism. And then the word jihad had a very negative meaning, which is contrary to that. Jihad is a beautiful thing. But it started changing a little bit. After that, people start researching and trying to know what Islam is and trying to educate themselves. For me personally, 6 months after September 11, the state association, I was coaching ODP and state association gave me the award of the best coach of Illinois. And to be honest with you, I was surprised, and I talked to Mary Jane, she was my boss. I said, are you sure you want to do that? So she said, we are absolutely sure because we didn't give it to you. People voted for you. Players, coaches, parents voted for you. So the soccer community, I think, was not affected then. But I didn't feel any pressure or anything from anybody in our club or ODP. It was the opposite. A year after September 11, I was approached by a youth minister, and he was one of the parents in our club, and one of the founders actually of the club, and he asked me, can you come to our church? And I was surprised. He's asking a Muslim to come to church. He said, why do you want me to go to your church? He said, I want you to come talk to our kids and answer their questions about Islam. I said, why you want to do that? He said, the media now is attacking Islam. I don't want our kids to grow up having a bad, opinion on Islam. He said, I studied religion. I know Islam. It's totally opposite what they're saying now about it. And I went. There were about 20, 25 kids in that church, and the first question was, "What's jihad?" And that shows the effect of the media on the kids, because it's confusing what we say about jihad, what the media says about jihad. And we spent about an hour and a half. I answered the questions the best I could, and I was very happy that that was done. So to me, when something bad happened, there's always something good that comes with it. And for me to have the opportunity to go and talk to the kids and explain what Islam is, it was great for me personally and for our religion.
Thank you. It's very, very good to discuss September 11th. Obviously, it's a very touching subject. So I really thank you for that, Mostafa.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. September 11 was, it happened 9 months after I arrived here. And my experience of it was, I was going to University of Texas, and I lived right next to the small, tiny mosque on campus. And man, I gotta tell you, what you hear in the media is one thing, and the American people is something else. Our mosque was absolutely flooded with flowers. We couldn't walk in. We had to sweep them or move them aside. That's how much support came from the community, because they knew we were going to be the next target, but they knew us. They knew we were not what they were seeing in TV. They knew the people before they even knew the religion. So that was my experience. But similar to what Mostafa experienced, we saw a tremendous increase in interfaith dialogue, conversations. I couldn't tell you tens and tens of visits to the mosque by churches and private Catholic schools and other schools, and us going there. Tremendous amount. Islam experienced the highest growth of in America after September 11, because as I said, the American people are fair, and when they know something and they know it fairly, they judge it fairly. And that was an opportunity, although in disguise, for them to really get to know this, so like someone said in the chat, misunderstood religion. And since then, it's put on us, to answer your question, the responsibility to represent our religion the way it should be represented, because Islam is one thing and Muslims is something else, unless you practice it properly and represent it properly. Otherwise, you're not doing it justice. And this goes for any religion. If you take anybody from the KKK, they carried the cross, but they had nothing to do with Christianity. It's the same thing. For me, it took the responsibility of, I have to carry myself in a way that if someone associates me with Islam, walks away with a positive reaction. And that's going to affect my kids, because they're coming along. I have 3 boys, like Mostafa, I have 3 boys, and I want to leave a better place for them, for their Muslim identity in America than when I arrived. So that was the change for me, is that I bore more of a responsibility to represent and share the goodness of my faith with my community.
Thank you so much. And you actually kind of indirectly also answered my next question is, how do we combat these misconceptions, right? And you said, by being and practicing to be a good Muslim, right? And show people through our actions what Islam is. And that way people will, start to realize, okay, the media is wrong, right? And that is a great way of battling, misconceptions about Islam. Is there anything else that, any of you know of a way that we could combat these misconceptions that people might have? I didn't get that many responses, and that's why I wanted the responses, was to see what are misconceptions that people have when I say Islam,
Yeah.
But I
think,
are educated. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the way we behave by our actions, by our words, we have to be ambassadors of a good person, right? From the beginning, from the start. because you can have somebody who goes to mosque, prays, and all of that. But if they're stealing from people, if they're cheating people, if they're telling lies, that is not a good Muslim. No one's going to look at that person and say this is what it's supposed to be all about. So it starts with the person, and with our good actions, with our good words, with our good thoughts, always trying to see the positivity, always trying to do something better, always trying to leave the world a little bit better than we found it. Then we can show that, what, you can have beautiful Christians, you can have beautiful Muslims, you can have beautiful Jews. That's not what defines you. That you want to be a person of faith, a person of good faith, and do good. And somebody who does that always will promote their beliefs and also what they're following. And I think that's the best way of doing it, is your actions, is the way that you behave that's going to really tell the truth, rather than if I say something and I completely act in another way. So for me, that's where it comes from. I look at people and I don't see color, I don't see religion. I look at the person, I look at the personality, I look at what they do, and if they make the world a better place. And if they are, they're children of God for me.
Beautiful. There was a question there for myself and Pro. Yes, Pro has always been very supportive of myself, and I think there's probably 3 or 4 Muslim referees in the Pro ranks. They adjust our workouts, especially the time of our workouts. We have the luxury of working out whenever we want it, as opposed to having to work out by a certain time to submit the workout data by a certain time. So they've been really supportive. And also around like I said, the last 10 days and the Eid celebration, which is coming up next Tuesday or Wednesday. It's like I said, it's like Christmas for us. It's our biggest celebration, where everyone gets dressed and share gifts, etc. Allowing us the time to block that if we need to, etc. So they've been really supportive. In terms of the training part, we're athletes, so we have to keep a high level. So in Ramadan, me personally, and Lamine probably tell you the same, I feel fantastic during Ramadan. I think maybe it's because of the fasting, but I feel fantastic during Ramadan. I'm light, I'm sharp, and I love the fitness level that I reached during Ramadan.
Yeah, I'll add the same thing. Obviously, with my experience going to college, going to a place in West Virginia where a lot of people didn't even know about Islam. So I would just share a little story. I was I think it was Ramadan. I was getting up for suhoor to eat, but I was on my tawbah. I was praying after that, and then I was trying to get ready for my meal and pray. And then after that, these guys, I think they came from, they went out, I think it was a Saturday. And then they came out, one of the guys, he plays football, American football. And he just saw me, and he was like, as soon as he saw me, he was like, "What are you wearing, bro?" I laughed because for me, I didn't look at it as an insult. I just looked at it as he didn't know, he doesn't know. And then I explained it to him. I told him, yeah, this is what I wear sometimes when I pray, and I was getting ready to eat because I'm gonna fast tomorrow. And he was like, "Oh, okay." But then since then, every single time he sees me, he's like, "Oh, okay, this is Lamine. He's Muslim. He prays. He wears this. He tells people." Right. So every single time, he's the one who defends me. I don't even have to say anything. So for me, I use that as an opportunity to let people know who I am. I didn't even tell them I'm a Muslim. The way I behave, like everybody else mentioned it, that will show people, okay. And then when they see me praying, then they will ask me questions, like in training, or I will step outside on a sideline to pray. In the beginning, I was a little shy because I look a little different than everybody, but then I started getting comfortable, and then I say, I need to show myself. So I just go and pray, and then they see me, they ask me questions, oh, okay, this is different. And then I explained it to them. Now they're more familiar with when they see somebody on the sideline praying or doing training or before the game, which I've ran into where we having a team talk, and then I step on the side. Everybody knows that I'm gonna go and pray, and so me, for us to to be ambassadors like Esse mentioned, to let people know, okay, this is who we are and this is how we work. It's nothing to do with people who are killing people and claiming that that's Islam. They probably don't even use the Quran as their reference. They use their own books. They use their own ideology and claim that that is Islam.
All right, that's a great answer. If I could just interrupt with a couple of points from the chat, Hanah. One of the comments that came back about Islam was a misunderstood religion that Americans know nothing about and consequently fear. And one of the feedback that came from that was somebody sharing, just like Lamine did here, that, hey, they learned an awful lot more about it once they went to a local area and actually got involved in some activities. And so they learned an awful lot more about the Muslim and the Islamic faith. And that cleared up a lot of things for them. So it's very important that we get involved with individuals and become aware of the differences. And as Esse mentioned earlier, it's not about the label or the characteristics, it's about the person themselves. Can we learn who that person is? And we'll find that there are a lot of similarities out there. All right, so those are some of the comments that came back in, Hanah. All right.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And then obviously to end with that, I'm going to ask each one of the panelists to please answer this question. What is one quirk that you have? And the reason that I am asking that is because I would like people to know it doesn't matter who you are. We're all goofy, we're all human, right? And we're all the same, so go for it, guys. What's something peculiar or unusual about you? Pet peeve, anything, quirk.
Is being referee not enough?
That is a good point. Why did we do this, right? Why did we become referees? So anything, guys? Come on.
I mean, mine is probably not personal to me, but maybe it's personal to athletes, but I'm very superstitious about my pregame routine. Like everything has to be exactly the same every time. What I eat, what foot do I walk into the locker room with, where I put my bag, when I put the sequence of the badge and the whistle, everything is exactly the same. And it's probably been the same. I don't know if Esse is the same way. But the moment someone messes with that, I just get out of whack. So probably one of mine.
And Hanah, isn't that funny? Because I am exact 100% opposite of what Ismail says, because I learned early on that if for example, if eating pasta was my meal, before the game, and I went to a country that didn't have pasta, I couldn't get pasta, then I didn't want to be out of whack. So if I learned to go with the flow, and during those times, my locker room looked like the New York Central Station, for people coming in and going out and things of that nature. Ismail, now he can close the door and nobody can come in. So I learned 5 minutes of me time, and my 5 minutes of me time was sometimes just to go to the bathroom and just sit there and get into the zone for the game. And that was it, because they'd be sitting out there and talking about the game and another game and a previous game and an upcoming game and what was happening in some other part of the world. So funny that Ismail is so by the meticulous the way he does things, and I was exact opposite. And this is not to say one is better than the other one, because he's going to be representing us in the Olympics in Tokyo, Japan, and he's done the wonderful World Cup finals. So goes to show you there is more ways to do the same thing than one person can say this is the way to do it.
Yes, absolutely. But what is your quirk, Esse? You still haven't told us.
I really don't have a quirk. I'm pretty easy to get along, as long as somebody doesn't cross me and doesn't, I don't like people who tell me lies. Tell me the truth straight up front. I don't care how much it hurts. I'll take it. But don't tell me something in front of me and then something behind me. And that's when my core, I go crazy. Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, guys, rest of you, Lamine, Mostafa.
I'm sure I have something, but I can't think of anything right now. I don't know. I've never been suspicious as a player. Never had any routine or anything. I just, do whatever I had to do that day, and that's it. As a coach, it's the same thing. I just focus on the game and how I'm gonna coach and the lineup and all that. But I don't have any superstition.
No pet peeves?
No.
You mean I could cut you off when I see you, Mustafa, in Illinois on the road and you won't be mad?
Well, my wife always says that, when I get mad, I just shut up. I don't say anything. She says, just talk, just say something. And I just can't.
So Hanah, what is your what's your perk or special thing that you do? Quirk.
I think of this myself, but I think my pet peeve is having dishes in the sink. I hate it.
But you don't take them to the game though. That's good.
I don't know why. I just do not like dishes in the sink. I have to wash them right away. But yeah, I would have to say that. Let me
right.
anything?
I don't think I have anything specific either. But I know that.
Lamine, I think you can go.
Yeah. Sorry,
We lose people.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, I can hear you. I don't know.
Yep, go ahead.
Oh yeah. So I didn't have anything specific. Let's say pre-games. Because I kind of get nervous sometimes. So what I figured out is that I just get the ball either juggle around and in the locker room just to get myself loosened up and get my teammates loosened up as well. So then I don't think too much about the game. I think that always helped me out. And at times, if let's say there's a game and my prayer time is about 10, 15 or 20 minutes, I'm always skeptical. I say I gotta pray, or I'll probably I'll probably won't have a good game. So I always kind of like, man, or when I lose, I'm like, oh man, it's because I missed my prayer or something. I always had that in mind. So I don't know. Yeah.
It's true, right? Well, I really, really thank all of you for joining us today and agreeing to be a part of this. I hope that, we shared, some insight across the country, and helped people understand our religion a little bit better. And that basically, we're just, hey, out here trying to be a part of soccer just like you. And, we're not different, or we're not here to harm anybody. So I'm glad we had this opportunity. I'm very thankful for US Youth Soccer to put this together for us. I appreciate Hugh and the committee members for being involved with this and doing, all the back work. So thank you very much. And now I will cross it over to you, Hugh.
All right. Thank you, Hanah. Thank you, panelists. And again, our guests, thank you very much. Some good comments were made in there, good questions that came up, and we really appreciate you taking the time to come on out today and try to learn a bit more, and hopefully we'll be able to facilitate future discussions and take some positive actions that'll help everybody that's out there. All right, so once again, thank you very much, everybody. We do have a website up on the USYS website, if you would. If you have any specific questions for the DE&I committee, our email is dei@usyouthsoccer.org. I placed that in the chat. There is a little technical issue, someone said, but please try that again and I'll follow up. But we're more than welcome to hear your comments and give us some ideas of what else you'd like to hear and learn about. And I really do appreciate your time today. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.